Hi everyone. So it's pretty much a fun experience to be with TEDx again. A few weeks earlier, I was approached by April, one of the organizers of TEDx here, GSN, and she told me this year we're gonna have a really fun topic. First time in our school launch a TEDx event, we had a topic named Roots. My reaction is so deep for teenagers. I mean, it takes ages, generations to realize what roots actually mean to you, right? But after listening to all these amazing speeches from video games, from different cultures embracing friendship, I realized these kids, teenagers, they do have some understanding of roots. And also earlier when Annie, the singer, she mentioned about public speaking or the speech is not limited on the form, who is holding a mic and deliver a speech, but also includes this singing and also hosting. Wow, these kids, they can handle the deep topics. And also April told me that our principal, Mr. Kavan, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Okay, all right, here. And she told me that I'm really proud of our school, also our principal, who embodied embracing the root perfectly. So Mr. Kavan and also his families relocated in Ningbo, right? I bet this is the new route for you and your families. So as a former reporter, my kind of a habit is to do some research. One of the best ways to do research here in China is through the social media. Which one do you think? Xiaohongshu, Red Note. So I followed Mr. Kanan's Red Note last night. And found out he's using innovation in roots. So he's having the Texas style Ningbo barbecue, right? Okay, embracing the old and the new. And also he talks about how his grandfather moved from Mexico of sweet water and became one of the first batch of paratrooper. Okay, so old people remember roots mean for you, right? I mean, okay. And today I will talk about 4 women's story. No fancy PowerPoint, not much life-changing epiphany, just a 4 women's story. So last May holiday, actually it's May holiday, me and my mom went to a movie called The Dumpling Queen. Anybody watch that movie? Raise your hand if you have watched, because there will be some spoiler content. No, it's Hong Kong movie. So a mother of 2, whose name is Zhang Jianhe, and she went to Hong Kong from Qingdao in 1970s, hoping to have a wonderful reunion with her husband, whom she hadn't met for years. But she found out her husband had a new family with a boy, because Zhang Jianhe has 2 daughters. This is kind of deeply rooted in China. Having a boy is a huge thing. It's a trophy. It's a gold medal. Don't ask me how I know it. I have 3 older sisters and 1 younger brother. My younger brother is actually giving a talk at American Federals. He's a studying fellow at MIT and also youngest professor in econometrics. Okay, so I guess the boy really matters something, huh? Okay, and so this woman, Zhang Jianhe, instead of begging for her husband to have her and also her 2 daughters together as an extended family, she chose to stand up as a brave woman to live independently. Living in Hong Kong is insanely expensive, and she didn't go to Ivy Leagues. She didn't know much about finance. She only knows how to do these jobs like waiting tables, cleaning subways in the late night, just to support the 2 daughters. But it was difficult. And about the time she was about to give it up because of the high expenses living in Hong Kong. And the day before they left Hong Kong to repay her landlord some kindness, she made dumplings, homemade. And it ended up the dumplings, homemade dumplings, was the best food the landlord have ever had. So landlord asked her a question, how come your dumplings are so yummy? And Zhang Jianhe was like, I grew up eating this food. My mom and grandmother, the 3 generations had made this food, passed it to me. And well, I'm a southerner. I do not know how to make dumplings though. And then her landlord asked her, why don't you go to some places to sell your dumplings? That would be a best way to support your daughter. But back in 1970s, doing business is kind of like a shame for a female. But in order to support her family, so she carried this little trolley, a little broken trolley, and had some handmade dumplings on it. And this is the origin of how Wanzai Matou became. And I checked the market value. It's a 6 billion RMB company in food and beverage sector. So my point is, if you ever want to find strength or even treasure, go to your root. I mean, that was actually the first time me and my mom ever spent some time in movie theater. Come on, we are Asians. Mother and daughter do not spend many fun activities together. And then I asked my mom, and I noticed like she was literally crying. And she told me 2 things. Number 1, having a son is important, you know. And number 2, she was like, I doubted you sometimes, but after watching the movie, I do realize sometimes you do not need a man to prove who you are, and you can do things. Because previously I was a reporter, some kind of fancy career, right? Being on TV, interviewing all these public figures, from politicians to successful business people. But one day I went to this, society, the banking sector, and started from scratch, and then dropped it again, tried different areas. And my father was really angry with me. But my mom was there, always trying to support me. Even she was not that educated. But deep down, she knows how education is important for the girls and also the only boy in our family, equally important. That's why how I got educated in Peking University, and then got exchange in New York Stern, University, and had all my way along. And then here comes, my daughter's story. My daughter is 5 years and a half, named Emily. So she was on CCTV. Okay, today is June 16th. So 2 weeks earlier, she was on CCTV, 5-year-old, come on, the national TV. She was sitting right in the middle. And she was having this 八段锦 performance. Anyone knows what is 八段锦? Okay, good. So it's a perfect Tai Chi similar form to have your breath, concentration, and dancing comes as a whole. And as one of the typical Asian mom, I was like sitting in the front, like you do, and having 1 camera and 2 cell phones, trying to capture the best side of her. And then that moment, I also realized what root means for her. She was born in Beijing, went to one of the best kindergarten. But somehow, I think I should also let her know where I came from and how the root had supported my life. So I took her back home to my hometown, a rural place in China, but not like that kind of like a poverty with no running water, no electricity, no. Okay, just an ordinary rural place of China. So we were on the high-speed railway, and then she told me, Mom, I don't like staying in the railway. I was like, why? Because there's no fresh-made juice served in glass. I was like, this is already the first class of business class of high-speed railway. And then we landed at the rural place of China, and then she told me, Mom, this place is stinky. And I told her, because this is freshly made vegetables beside us and all these chickens, you can eat afterwards. So this is kind of a clash of the old route and also the new route of my daughter. But I was feeling really lucky to ever brought her home after 5 years and a half. So this is pretty much the simple story of 4 women embracing and growing with this route. And also, you know, as a reporter, we really want to depict the story in a legendary way. One way, technically, is to build the comparison. You know how so recently everyone is obsessed with the toy Labubu. Anyone who likes Labubu here? Yes, okay. And here is how we see the founder of Labubu story in public or in news. A guy who comes from nowhere and built up this world's top toy company, who satisfies everyone's dreams. Pay attention to the previous part. He came from nowhere. We emphasized about his root. Definitely this guy who didn't go to Ivy League school and who started his business in having a really small merchandise shop in Zhengzhou. And after 20 years later, here comes the mother company of Labubu. And Wang Ying, actually alumni of mine in Peking U, becomes Henan province richest man. Okay, so if we ask someone, or if we see this person who inherited a huge amount of money or came from a big family, we wouldn't feel like surprised or amazed. But when we mention about creating this legendary field by emphasizing his roots, suddenly this means something. This means people who come from nowhere can copy this, can learn from this, can look back at your own roots and figure out how it can support you. Another example how it can be embodied perfectly is the founder of JD. Anyone knows the founder of JD? Anyone who shops with JD, Jingdong, JD.com? Right, okay. And here's the story of the founder of Jingdong, Liu Qiangdong. Not the scandal one, that one. And Liu Qiangdong was basically born in a rural place of, which province again? Okay, Jiangsu, right, Suqian. He got admitted to Renmin University, one of the top universities in China though, but he could not afford the tuition fees. And here comes how he got supported. So each folk in his village paid the tuition with an egg. So he carried all these eggs freshly, delivered birth from the hens and carried them to Beijing to support him for the first or second month of life expenses. I must say these folks are really lucky because they got the best return on equity by having lots of cash returned by the founder of Jingdong, Liu Qiangdong. And a lot of occasions, Liu Qiangdong was not ashamed to describe the place he came from, literally his root, but to let everyone know how he was enriched by this community, by these multiple acts, by the strength, by the belief. So the root is actually not where you come from, but also your community and how you got support by this community. This can be your lifelong lesson, lifelong strength. Okay, I think my speech is gonna be up to an end. So 4 women's story and also 3 business founders, including Pop Mart, Wang Ying, and also JD.com, Liu Qiangdong. The third is missing. I think the third business leader would come from you. Okay, thank you.